Muito boa tarde a todos e todas. É um gosto enorme começar a ver esta sala a ficar cheia de gente boa, conhecida, que tem aqui como missão e visão de partilhar a educação de infância, e este privilégio enorme de termos hoje connosco a professora Heidi, que através do contacto com o professor João Moroco, nosso colega de Bispa, fez aqui esta ponte maravilhosa, trazendo a Finlândia até Portugal. Portanto, é sim um gosto enorme poder partilhar. Eu acho que me vou sentar, ficamos aqui os dois sentados. É um gosto enorme poder partilhar aquilo que tem sido o conhecimento. I'm just saying how happy we are to... You understand? Heidi speaks 9 languages, 9 línguas. And vocês vão ver que o português já faz parte, de alguma forma, destas línguas que fala. Eu não sei como é que é possível. É absolutamente extraordinário, mas esteve durante 8 semanas a estudar português e já, se falarmos devagarinho, já é capaz de compreender e responder. Extraordinário. Então, eu acho que estamos começando devagarinho. Eu tenho aqui uma apresentação que me vai ser necessariamente curta, face àquilo que é o trabalho das últimas 2 décadas, 2 last decades of hard work, and a very perfect one. De facto, um trabalho absolutamente extraordinário na área da educação, concretamente também na área da educação de infância, que nos une aqui particularmente. E então dizer-vos aqui um bocadinho da história da Heidi Harju-Luukkainen. Estou a aprender a dizer o nome, a minha aprendizagem de finlandês não é nada tão boa como a aprendizagem da Heidi de português, mas vou tentar também. E dizer-vos que é professora catedrática em educação na Universidade de EduCare e na Universidade do Norte, uma na Finlândia e outra na Noruega. É qualquer coisa de extraordinário, porque são 2 universidades em que trabalha, ainda que na Universidade de EduCare tenha uma ação mais profunda. É vice-diretora do consórcio universitário do Ciclo Campus, onde dirige a formação em ciências da educação, incluindo formação de professores, educação especial e educação de infância. É membro do Conselho Educacional da Universidade, onde dirige um grupo de investigação, bem como um programa de doutoramento em educação. A Heidi é também fundadora do Chidenius Learning Lab, já sei right? Uma infraestrutura interdisciplinar de apoio à investigação e membro da equipa de gestão da Unesco Unit WIN. Na Noruega, lidera um grupo de investigação internacional e é docente no programa de doutoramento também. No seu trajeto académico, possui ela própria o doutoramento em educação, mas também formação em liderança e gestão, em educação especial e em educação de infância e educação para primeiro ciclo. Tem trabalhado amplamente no mundo, em 5 países diferentes, em universidades como a Universidade de Califórnia em Los Angeles, a Universidade da Califórnia do Sul, a Universidade de Gotemburgo e a Universidade de Helsínquia. Os seus interesses de investigação, como vamos ter a oportunidade hoje de partilhar, são amplos e interdisciplinares, mas têm-se concentrado principalmente em questões relacionadas com a educação. Esta visão sistémica, holística que temos da educação é profundamente partilhada e daí que irradia da educação também outras áreas onde o seu trabalho é muito importante e muito profundamente olhado e perspectivado. Trabalhou em mais de 40 projetos diferentes de investigação e desenvolvimento na Europa e nos Estados Unidos. Neste momento, tem vários projetos de investigação em curso. Em 2021, obteve financiamento do Conselho Norueguês para criar um Centro Nacional de Investigação sobre Educação Especial e Práticas Inclusivas. Além disso, está também a fazer investigação inovadora em educação no contexto indígena Sami, na Noruega, financiada pelo Conselho Norueguês de Investigação. Através da rede de universidades do Ártico, está envolvida em múltiplos outros projetos internacionais, como o ensino e aprendizagem à distância nas comunidades do Ártico, e formação transformadora de professores para o Norte sustentável. Todos estes títulos apetecem-nos logo mergulhar e saber mais, não é? Cada um deles é assim, everything you do, you feel like, you know, tell us more, tell us more. Recentemente, recebeu também financiamento do Conselho Sueco de Investigação para um projeto denominado Desigualdades de Acesso à Educação Pré-Escolar, na Suécia. Os seus outros projetos, em curso, estão ligados às questões globais no domínio da inclusão de grupos minoritários. É também líder de 2 grupos internacionais de investigação, designados Teaching and Learning in a Time of Change e Social Justice and Diversity in Education. No seu percurso, publicou amplamente, tanto em revistas especializadas como em livros internacionais e relatórios científicos. No total, tem mais de 260 publicações. Se vocês colocarem o nome no motor de busca, é infinito aquilo que vão encontrar. É muito interessante. Editou vários livros internacionais, vai aqui falar-nos sobre alguns deles. Tem aqui um slide em que vai mostrar, portanto eu vou deixar, não vou ser aqui spoiler, vou deixar para que nos conte que livros escreveu. E, além disso, trabalha como editora-chefe para o Journal of Early Childhood Education and Research, editora-chefe do Journal of Nordic Research in Early Childhood Educational Research e é membro do Conselho Editorial para a Avaliação Educacional. Tem também vindo a desenvolver ativamente programas universitários. Na Finlândia desenvolveu um programa de pós-graduação em Educação da Infância para a Universidade de Helsinki e a Universidade de Uvasvara. Tem vindo a desenvolver conteúdos de programas de doutoramento para múltiplas universidades e teve estudantes de doutoramento provenientes de toda a Europa, Estados Unidos, África e Ásia. Tem tido a honra, eu estou a traduzir aquilo que me fez chegar, portanto, estas são as suas palavras, tem tido a honra de trabalhar no Ministério da Educação da Finlândia, avaliando a educação a nível nacional, desenvolvendo as futuras diretrizes para o primeiro ciclo do ensino básico, trabalhando como investigadora principal na equipa finlandesa do PISA, em que trabalhou muito proximamente com o professor João Maroco, nosso colega, em 2009, 2012 e 2015. Fora do contexto universitário, foi presidente da Associação Finlandesa de Pais entre 2014 e 2016 e neste momento é também membro do Comitê de Investigação Ética da organização não-governamental Volkshalsen, responsável pelas orientações éticas dos projetos de investigação médica e de ciências sociais, os tais braços sistémicos que se vão aqui espalhando. Eu vou tentar agora dizer em finlandês, mas não sei se vou conseguir. Kiitos paljon anteliisuudestasi olla kanssamme. Muito obrigada pela generosidade em estar connosco.
Yes. So, muito obrigado pelo convite. Meu nome é Heidi Harju-Luukkainen e trabalho como professora de educação na Universidade de Jyväskylä, na Finlândia. Eu trabalho como vice-diretora do campus universitário e diretora de ciências educacionais. Há 2 meses eu não falava português. Eu fiz uma promessa ao professor João Maroco. Eu falarei português em Lisboa. Eu praticava português todos os dias e me apaixonei pela língua portuguesa. Agora posso afirmar que a educação faz a diferença e abre novos horizontes.
Muito obrigada.
I'll sit there so I can see you perfectly. Is that okay? And then I'll
That's
come
wonderful.
back.
That's wonderful. So the floor really is mine.
The floor is really yours.
Yes.
Really yours.
Thank you so much. So I'm not going to be talking to you in Portuguese more, because I know I have a Brazilian accent. So I learned my Portuguese through Duolingo, you know, the app that you learn languages. So it's only in Brazilian Portuguese. That was a little bit of a problem. So when I came here, I was like, what are you talking? Why are you cropping the words? I don't understand. So today we're going to be talking about early childhood education. And thank you so much for the invitation. It really is an honor. This is my last presentation on this trip. I'm going to meet some of the faculty tomorrow, and then I will fly back again home to Finland. So I'm looking forward to spend this time really with you. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to raise up your hand and ask those ones, okay? That's wonderful. So let's start with a few pictures of Finland. We do have a Finnish person here in the audience as well. Want to say hi to everybody? So we are too. Yeah, so I could see it in her eyes like right away. Oh my God, it's my home country. Yeah, so we have these pictures are from Finland, and you can see the winter time and the summertime over there. There's Helsinki, the capital of Finland, and in Lapland you would have the Aurora Borealis and see the reindeers as well. In Finland there's 100,000 lakes, so it's a lot of swamp mark and very sort of flat country. So if you stand up you can see almost from one end to another. Not me, however. So at the right corner there's my summer cottage, and that's where we go with the family. After all these, you know, these academic things, I still do have a husband, and I have three daughters.
Wow.
Yeah. So we go there with the family, and we spend our entire July month there, and with the nature. So nature is extremely important for the Finnish people, and an important part of our culture as well. Something that the pictures represent. So when I was preparing for this presentation, I wasn't really sure what to take in. So I had to go through a few of my books and see what type of topics would be of interest. So these are a few books that we published the last years. The newest one is the Finnish Early Childhood Education and Care, a multi-theoretical perspective on research and practice. That was published by Springer, Nature. And then we have Parental Engagement and Early Childhood Education, which is very close to my heart because I've been the president of the Parental Association as well of the country. Assessing and Evaluating and Monitoring Student Achievement, that's very close to my and Joao's, I learned the trick how to say it correctly. Or Our Heart. Special education is as well very important for me. Nordic perspective and developing languages. So I'm going to be drawing from these researches and tell to you a few things. If you are interested, you can take a picture of this QR code, and you will be able to access this presentation later on as well. Feel free to use it for your personal purposes, however, not to any, business things or so. You never know. And there are also a folder with research that is connected with this presentation. So feel free to use those ones as well. So I will be talking to you today about the Finnish education system. Well, just to give you an idea of how the education system is built in Finland and what are those sort of arches around our education system. I'm going to jump over a few slides because I have the same presentation for all of the conferences that I've had. So, for instance, the assessment would probably not be as interesting for this audience as for some others. So I'm going to be talking about early childhood education, transversal competencies, language-aware pedagogy, play-based learning. What is pedagogy in early childhood education? This is a problem we had during the COVID with my colleagues when we met and we started talking about what is pedagogy in early childhood education. And we all had different type of ideas. Think about it. How would you define pedagogy? So then at the end I will be talking about the teacher training and the future of education. So, Finland is a part of the Nordic context, so to say. The Nordic countries share a lot in common, and especially around the policies and practices connected to those ones. And across the education system, there's huge similarities. So Finland, together with the Nordic countries, score very high in different type of lifestyle measures and quality of life, family, work-life balance. And the countries highlight different type of policies that promote equity and independence. So when I was talking to, I've been talking here to many people during my stay, and for instance, that was a surprising fact that in Finland, students at the university level are supported economically by the government. So you get a fee every month just for studying, and also you get a support for your rent. I think it's around 75% or so of your rent. Of course, there's a cap. You can't, live in a palace and expect to get 75%. But, you get the understanding of how that gives independence to university students, for instance, to be able to study. So, but this is not only regarding the university students. We have different type of family policies in place that are child-centered and that promote social cohesion. So that's the idea. And yes, I'm going to move on. So I'm going to take a deep breath and read to you very quickly what's in these boxes. So Finland is known for a lot of things, and this is just a fraction of those things that we've heard. So, Finland is the most stable country in the world, safest country in the world, freest country in the world, second most gender equal country in the world, most human capital in the world, best primary education in the world, happiest people in the world, most literate country in the world, third in world innovation comparison, second best country to be a girl in the world, among 5 best countries in reading, science and financial literacy in PISA, among other OECD countries and so on. And do you know how that all is possible? Do you have any idea? And that's also a fact. Okay, let's move on. So, Finland has been performing pretty well in different well-being assessments compared to other OECD countries, for instance. And Finland outperforms the average in education, work-life balance, environmental equality, social connection, safety, and life satisfaction. 72% of people aged 15 to 64 have a paid job, and long-term labor force in unemployment rate is around 1.2%. 91% of adults have completed upper secondary school, and Finns earn around 46,000 per year on an average. Of course, Finland is much more expensive than Portugal. So in Finland, between the ages 5 to 39, Finns go through 19.8 years of education. And what we see is that a well-educated and a well-trained population is key to country's social and economical well-being. And this is something I can't highlight enough, because this was something I grew up to. My grandparents were telling me, you know, because Finland is quite a young country. We're, I think, 105 years or something like that. And the thing is that my grandparents used to say to me that, Heidi, you need to study because we never had that possibility. And that was my upbringing. So I did that one, because you have to always listen to your grandparents. Another funny thing, I had to put it here at the bottom, because I don't know where to put it anywhere else in these slides, but university professors are among the most highly regarded of all professionals in the entire country. So there is a high respect, how would I say, people respect education in Finland very much. So educational policy in Finland, so this is the arch that I want to draw to you. The main objective is to offer all citizens equal opportunities to receive education, and this is stated in our constitution. So regardless of your family background, socioeconomical status, your language, your religious background, regardless of what color your skin is or so on, you are entitled to have equal opportunities in education. And I think this is one of the most important cornerstones as well of the education system. So therefore we have almost free early childhood education. So if you earn a lot, then you would have to pay a little bit more per month. And if you are, let's say, a student, single mom or dad, you wouldn't have to pay almost at all. We have free compulsory education and almost free universities as well. University students do pay a very small fee, but that's something like few hundreds per year. The educational autonomy is very high, meaning that we have a decentralized system. And what it means is that all of the decisions are made on school level, teacher level, and municipal level. We do have ministries of education, or the Ministry of Education that is in charge and it makes the laws, and then we have the Board of Education underneath that one that makes the curriculums for early childhood education and so on. But then the main decisions regarding, let's say, pedagogy and so on is made in the municipalities by the teachers. We also don't have a school inspection in Finland, so that was taken away in the 1990s. The education is seen as a key to competitiveness and well-being of the society, once again. This is a picture of the Finnish education system. And what I want to tell you with this picture is that there are no dead ends. So meaning that, you know, as a parent, how it feels. Now my 16-year-old daughter is applying to high school and she's very stressed out and I don't have to be worried as a parent because there's no dead end. So if she would decide to do something, go to vocational qualification instead of going to upper secondary school, it doesn't matter, because she can always go back, she can always go to the University of Universities of Applied Sciences and so on. So in Finland, the lifelong learning is, at least on paper, possible. Assessment I'm going to jump over, and I'm going to jump to a topic that is very close to my heart, early childhood education. So the Finnish approach is called EduCare model, where we have it's an integrated approach to where we put the care and education together, and where we highlight the pedagogy in early childhood education. And all children under the school age have a subjective right to receive early childhood education. And what does that mean? It means that when I as a mother decide, or a father decides, or we together decide that it's time for our child to start in early childhood education, I have to fill in a form, and within 3 months the municipality has to design or assign a place for my child. And this system is built like this because that we will have workforce in Finland, and that parents will be able to study and to work, because otherwise it would be not as easily possible. The function of the early childhood education and care is to promote equality and equity and prevent the children's social exclusion, and also strengthen children's participation and active agency in society. And this is something that you will, if you look at the Finnish early childhood education curriculum, that's, by the way, possible to find. You just Google and you will find it in English. But there is a lot of active agency that is highlighted around the curriculum. I'm not going to read this all to you, but these are the aims, but I'm going to highlight a few words for you. So, the aims of early childhood education is to promote the holistic growth of the child, support the conditions for the child's learning, carry out different types of versatile pedagogical activities within the early childhood education, have a healthy and safe learning environment, respect children, give equal opportunities, recognize the child's needs, develop the child's interpersonal and interaction skills, and give the children the possibility to influence and act together with the child and the parents. So this would be sort of the big picture of the early childhood education aims. So, I think that all starts with smart policies, and the national core curriculum is done at the Board of Education in Finland, or the Finnish National Agency for Education. And the preparation of this document is done together with different types of stakeholders. And these are, for instance, the teacher unions. We have researchers, a lot of researchers across different universities in Finland involved in doing the curriculum, meaning that the curriculum is designed so that it is research-based. Okay? And I think it was the last curriculum, I was talking to the national agency, and they told me that, I hope I remember the figures correctly, but they told me that just before you make the final version of the curriculum, you release it to the public, so that anybody, all teachers and anybody can comment on that one. So I think they had 40,000 comments, meaning that as well parents are very interested, teachers are very interested in developing the curriculum of the country, because it is highlighted as important. So, equal preconditions, and the curriculum of early childhood education is also linked with the curricula of basic education, so that it forms a unified educational path. The municipalities in Finland are in charge of organizing, on the basis of curriculum, the early childhood education services, and the services are organized in 3 different languages. So we would have Finnish, Swedish, that are the national languages. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, I don't know. Did you know that Finland is a bilingual country by the constitution? No. Yes, Finland is. We were happily married with Sweden for 600 years. So I'm Swedish-speaking Finn. So we are around 200,000 of us unicorns in Finland that speak Swedish as their mother tongue, but I also speak Finnish as my mother tongue. And also in education, all of the Swedish-speaking student has to learn Finnish, and the Finnish-speaking student has to learn Swedish. And in the because of the fact that regardless of the language you speak, you would need to have equal opportunities in the education system. Therefore, we have bilingual university, like the University of Helsinki, and we also have a completely Swedish-speaking university called Åbo Academy University, where everything is in Swedish. Okay, just for curiosity. Let's go into one area that is very central to the early childhood education curriculum, and that's transversal competencies. And the need for transversal competencies arises from global challenges that we can find around us today. And the children need to link different types of knowledge and skills together for personal and societal growth. And the main idea is that children will be able to acquire knowledge, skills in different types of situations based on their adopted values and their attitude. And these transversal competencies consist of knowledge, skills, values, attitudes, and will. You will need to have the attitude in the right place and the will as well to do the changes in the future. So here are the transversal competencies according to the Finnish National Core Curriculum. So we would find the cultural competence, interaction and self-expression. The second one is taking care of oneself and managing daily life. The multiliteracy, the digital competence, participation and involvement, and thinking and learning. And this is in the early childhood education. This is a picture of the Finnish early childhood education curriculum that I found online. I don't know who has done it, but I just found it and I copied it here, and I'm a very bad person for doing that. But I think it shows in a nutshell the different areas that are important in the Finnish curriculum. So we have at the top we have the transversal competencies, and on the bottom we have the learning environment, so to say. We have the underlying values that we can find in every early childhood education center, and the conception of learning. How do we look at, as adults, on the cooperation? What type of working methods do we have? How do we look at the evaluation and development of the learning environment? And the pedagogical documentation, which is seen as an important part of the child education, and so on. And then we have the different learning areas of children, the rich world of languages, diverse forms of expression, me and my community exploring and interacting with the environment. I grow, I move, I develop. And then we have the different environments in which the children grow up, which is an important part of the early childhood education environment as well. Now I want to jump with you. Do you have any questions so far? No, everything has been crystal clear. Okay. Thank you. Can I copy you to my classes? It would be wonderful. So, as you probably got the idea already, because Finland is a bilingual country, we have a different attitude towards languages than in many other countries. And, or at least that's how I feel it. Foreign languages spoken by country by Eurostat, and this is from 2016 or something like, it's a little bit older, but it's still the same statistics we would approximately find. In Portugal, 3 or more languages is spoken by 15.3% of the people, and in Finland we would find 44.9% of people speak 3 languages or more. And then we have Sweden, with 19%, and then we have Norway with 43.7%. So we can find different language, what would I say, profiles within the Nordic countries as well. And we all know, for instance, that Sweden has been very much taking, there's a lot of students with an immigrant background and so on, but it doesn't show in that last category. But let's take a look a little bit closer. So, we did a research paper a while ago, just for the fun. And well, actually, a lot of my research, we can have a glass of wine with my colleagues, and then it starts many times as a joke, which is a perfect thing to work. Anyway, so in Sweden, the early childhood education curriculum is actually only 19 pages. Think about it, 19 pages. You will find that in English as well if you want to look. And in Norway, it's around 64 pages, and it's in Finland around 63 pages. And the Finnish and the Norwegian versions are pretty much the same, I would say. But I wanted to take a closer look at how is language highlighted in the curriculums. And I found that in Swedish curriculum, of course it's shorter, they mentioned language 26 times, in Norway 45, and in Finland 106 times. So, and then we wanted to take a closer look, how is the language sort of defined, and in what context do we talk about when we look at the language. So in Sweden, it would be like preschool shall give each child the conditions to develop both the Swedish language and his or her mother tongue, these type of very regular sentences you can find in most of the European curriculums on a general level. And then when we move on to the Norwegian one, it says like all children shall receive appropriate language stimulation in kindergarten, meaning that now we're talking about pedagogy, or what it gives a little bit more like guidelines to the teachers. And linguistic and cultural diversity should be highlighted and include all children language stimulation activities. But in Finland, the curriculum according to languages is very much different from many other countries. And in Finland it's possible to learn languages within early childhood education different ways, but they are all voluntary, these type of programs. So we would have the bilingual education and any language that is not our national language, Finnish, Swedish, and Sami, excluded from that one. So we have German early childhood education, we have Spanish early childhood education, French, I think we have Chinese as well, and so on. So you would have multiple language, bilingual education programs. Then we have early language immersion that started in Canada, that was imported to Finland, and Canada is as well or bilingual, so it fitted very well into the Finnish context. And Finnish children can get language immersion. Finnish children can get language immersion in Swedish, and Swedish children can get language immersion in Finnish. And then we have something that is called narrow bilingual education, and it can be again any language possible. So if you would have somebody who speaks Arabic in your team, it's of course an administrative decision that has to be made, but up to 25% of the education time can be devoted to another language. And this means that in theory we have a possibility to open up the world of languages to our children, according to our policy, but of course it doesn't work like that in practice. But still, the possibility is there. Then we have the language nest programs, and we have the indigenous Sami people living in Finland, that we value their heritage, and and their place in Finland very much. So we have the indigenous and endangered languages that can be supported through the language nest programs. So because of the assimilation that we have had in Finland, like in all of the Nordic countries, a lot of the Sami people have lost their indigenous language. And therefore, in order to support that language, we can provide language nests for the children, where the next generation will learn the language and can carry on, because culture is very much connected with the language as well. So Finland has a lot of bilingual children, and the immigration numbers are getting bigger and bigger to Finland every year. And after some PISA assessments that I was in charge of, we did on the students with an immigrant background, did an oversampling on those ones, and we found out that the students with an immigrant background are lagging behind almost 2 years compared to the Finnish ones. And this is a problem when we think about at the end of the compulsory education. So on the 9th grade, so these children have been in the Finnish education system their entire life. They have been born, these are for instance the second generation. So they have been born in Finland. And when they are in the 9th grade, they are lagging almost 2 years behind their Finnish friends. And this is an unacceptable situation. So I always say that we cannot call ourselves as the model or the best education country in the world if we are only a country that is super duper good in educating girls, which are, by the way, very good. But our boys are struggling. So from these premises, I had how would I say, a dream, probably, an idea for many years, that we need to develop a tool for language-aware pedagogy in early childhood education and care. And suddenly I found a group of people around me. We were all together, closer to 30 specialists from all over the country, and we were able to get funding from the Ministry of Education and Board of Education. And we were able to develop a material that supports the teachers in their work in the multilingual environment. So the tool helps to assess the development of learning environment in relation to language awareness. It means that the teachers are the core in children's language learning. Many times they might be even the only ones supporting the children's language learning. And therefore they need to really think about what type of language-aware pedagogy they use. Then another important part is the child and the child's language environment. What type of languages do the child speak at home, with whom? Because languages are connected with one another. So the better I speak my Finnish language or Swedish language, the better I will be speaking Portuguese in a long run. So maybe next August I will be doing much better. Anyways, so language is connected with one another, and therefore it is important for the early childhood education teachers to know what languages children speak at home and how much they speak those ones. And then we have also a tool there to monitor the development of Finnish language proficiency of a multilingual child, or the Finnish, Swedish, or English, for instance. And this is completely for free online, and you just take it and use it. We're happy if you can do that. So, for instance, the assessment for, just an example. So, when we started designing this tool, the group that I was leading came to me with something like 18 pages. You know, these like, you have to put crisscross here and there. I said, nobody in their right mind will ever use this type of tool. No, 1 page. And then they came back with like 5 pages. I said, no, 1 page. And then we, made it smaller and smaller. And finally, we had the personnel's activities. Do the personnel act as a linguistic model, help the children to expand their vocabulary, and adapt the speech to children's level of proficiency. So the idea is that the group talks with one another. How well does this work, or how well doesn't it work? And then do we need to develop, or what? Or then we have the personal activities, learning environment, and child's inclusion. How well do we take into consideration that the children have multiple cultures, multiple languages, and so on? And with the help of these questions, the personnel starts to think about the language-aware pedagogy. So this is not an assessment tool to sort of assess how well Anna is doing or Joao is doing their job. This is to make them think. And then this is for the examining languages in the child's environment, and with what languages do the child speak with guardians and friends and adults, and read books and so on. So, do you have any questions? This is almost like a Finnish audience. You probably heard that Finns are very non-talkative, haven't you? We don't talk at all. We were extremely happy when the COVID time sort of was over, because we had to keep, the 2 meters, and then we were able to go back to the regular 4 meters. We were so happy. Yes. So please feel free to ask if there's anything.
Heidi, I just have a comment. I think
yes.
for you to bring us this reflection about language is so important, because we do have many people coming from different parts of the world to our country, and I think this is an aspect that we could learn a lot with you. Language is culture, and to respect that and to really be able to make the best of how we are using language to connect with each other and to say you are welcomed, and we are looking forward to meet you where you are, and then bring to you what we are, but in that sense of welcoming. So I think this is very special.
I as a parent, I have been an immigrant when we moved to the United States, and I had to put my 3-year-old into the early childhood education and my 2 school-age children into the school. And I still remember the moment when I was standing outside the school and I had to just push them through the door, screaming or not, just push them through the door, and say, no, Mommy's coming back soon, turn my back and start crying. And the feeling that they would not be able to express themselves or anything, but they went into an international school, so they knew what to do and how to do that, accommodate the children. So my kids were, in a few weeks, they were speaking English, and all of the parents had the same experience. So my phone was, after 2-3 days, it was filled with names, and everybody was coming and in a social way hugging our family and taking us into the community. And this is something sometimes that we forget, how hard it is to try to establish your home again somewhere else, regardless of why we have done it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, when, for instance, when an educator finds a child with an immigrant background and with a language, so not speaking properly Finnish or Swedish or something, so does the educator, I guess, sort of does an effort to learn the language of the child, or how does it?
Yeah, well, they can do that one as well, of course. I mean, it's a lovely thing to show respect, like I did with the Portuguese language. So it always warms one's heart. However, no, that's not the way we can do. But there are a lot of with small things you can show, respect towards the child.
So the idea and the emphasis will be on creating the basis for the child to actually
learn the language, yes, and figure out what type of, because the pedagogy is the toolbox of the teacher. So what type of tools am I using to support the child? Because sometimes the tools can also suppress the child. So do I open the door or not for the child's learning? Yes, I can't say any without going into too much into details and boring you all out. Play and playful learning has been a very important part of the Finnish early childhood education curriculum for a very long time. We did we've done a few articles on those ones outlining play and playful learning in Finland and Brazil, and creating a theoretical framework for playful learning and pedagogy. And the play can be seen as a vehicle for learning, but also a way of spending time, living, and perceiving the world. And now I need to highlight that not all play is learning. This is an old-fashioned thinking that we had previously, that all play is always like learning. It's not. So it's also spending time and just enjoying. For the child, the significance of play lies in the play itself, and play produces joy and pleasure for the children. But we adults, we play as well, don't we? How many of you, when you get a new iPhone, open the manual? Yeah, we play until we fake it until we make it. So in play, children are active agents. They structure, explore the surrounding world, create social relations, and form meanings based on their experiences. And through play, children can process experiences that they find difficult. And play makes it safe as well for us adults to fail. Play evolves, takes different forms, and interaction between the personnel and the children is extremely important in play, as we see. In learning environments that encourage us to play, adults are also learners, so we cannot go there into the play situations knowing everything. We have to learn ourselves as well. So the personnel together with the guardians discuss the importance of play and observation related to children's games and play in Finland. The personnel, the play is the key working method in early childhood education in Finland, and the personnel has a duty to provide children with different type of opportunities to play, and that all of the children will have a possibility to play. And also to secure different type of preconditions for play, and support the development of children's play with a systematic and goal-oriented approach. The personnel, probably this one is important as well, the personnel must observe and document the children's play. Observation play increases the personnel's understanding of children's thoughts, interests, as well as their emotions and experiences. But also, in the material that I showed you previously, the observation is extremely important when we talk about language as well. You know, in play, you will hear where the children, what type of language the children uses and what type of language they don't use, but also what type of errors they make, because when you are learning a language, you are faking it until you make it for real, because the errors you make are one step closer to the correct form of talking. So so to say, the error should be seen as a very positive thing. You can't learn anything without doing errors. So when you make mistakes in life, you go just, yay, one step closer to the final destination. So we did together with my colleague Jonna Kangas a theoretical framework for playful learning and pedagogy. This is done for the first time in the world, I think. So we combine the theories of learning and theories of play into a theoretical practical understanding, and how the playful learning and pedagogy should be seen. Because this has been a problem, we don't have definitions on playful learning at all. And I think you can find this one as well in the folder if you're interested in looking at that one. So, for us, if the defining playful learning was hard, what about early childhood education pedagogy? So we met with my colleagues during the COVID time. I had a few drinks and started talking and arguing, and we were talking that no, that's not pedagogy. I mean, where did the subject disappear, didactics? Where did that go? And no, playful learning. Yes, that's the most important thing. And I was screaming, languages, you forget languages. And then we started talking, where do the pedagogy come from? Our understanding of pedagogy, the multiple understandings of pedagogy. And a lot of the theories around pedagogy comes from school-aged children. And the theories are connected to school environment. And early childhood education is a completely different type of an environment where learning happens as well with different type of tools. So in the Nordic countries and Central Europe, the concept of pedagogy is related to support the children's development through holistic care and education. And this is called a so-called social pedagogical tradition. And the pedagogy is a very multidimensional definition, and it is related to our history, our cultural, political, social, and societal factors. So I would define the pedagogy through my Finnish unicorn lenses, and you would use your own, and we would define the pedagogy differently. And therefore also, pedagogy is connected with the curriculum, the values, and the philosophies that are currently influencing our thinking, and how do we see it. So the pedagogy covers both the practice, the teaching orientation, organization of learning environments, and the operational culture. And there are a lot of tensions between these different types of understandings. And the concept of early child education pedagogy is very dynamic, it changes, and at the same time we need a constant reconceptualization by teachers and policymakers of what pedagogy is, and a solid understanding of how we would like to see it in our country. So this was our problem. So we defined it, everybody, all of us were defining it, whatever's differently. So we wanted to take a closer look, and we chose 41 scientific papers and reports from the Nordic countries, and we were able to find 5 different themes across these documents describing different approaches to early childhood education pedagogy. And these were pedagogy through interaction, scaffolding, didactics, expertise, and future orientation. Okay? So, we were thinking like, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say pedagogy through didactics. Anna here is very interested in playful learning. So she would be pedagogy through didactic. She would go like, no, playful learning is important, all children play, and so on. Joao here would be like more on the assessment side. And he would be like, no, subject knowledge in mathematics is extremely important. You need to have the basics. And Anna would go like, no, children's playful learning and their exploration. So you will find tensions between these ones. And people's understanding of pedagogy through didactics would slide on a scale. Okay? And then we would have the expertise and future orientation and so on. And all of these would have tensions within them. I have this article for you as well to read, but I'm going to give you the, sort of the whole idea of it. So then we had a second idea. So, okay, we have now identified these tensions, and these are the problem or the core of pedagogy. But where are the child, the teacher, the content, and the learning? They are present at the same time as well. So we would have, for instance, in the didactic dimension, if we would have Anna's idea of the playful learning, the children's role would be much higher, the teacher's role would be lower, the content would be lower, depending on what the children would be doing, but the learning would be high, okay? Depending on what they would be learning. Then on Joao's end of the didactics, the children's role would be lower, the teacher's role would be high, the content would be high, and the learning would be somewhere in the middle, or depending on who is the teacher and the pedagogical tools. Anyways, you get the idea of how multidimensional the pedagogy is. And this is how we see the pedagogy in the Nordic countries. Now it's time to move on to almost the final stages of my presentation, to the teacher training in Finland. Do I still have like 15 minutes?
If we want to have a little discussion,
So, yes.
I would say a little bit less,
Mm-hmm.
so that we could open for
Yes.
debates.
That's good.
Would that
That's
be okay?
absolutely, that's perfect. Perfect. Came out in Swedish. So the teacher training in Finland is one key, or we see the teacher training as the key to our success in educational assessments. The trust that Finnish people have in their teachers and the trust-based responsibility that the teacher has is huge. So during the teaching studies, the students have to create a personal but practical theory. So they would learn during their studies a lot of different types of theories, and some of them would be something that they would find more closer to their heart and some that they wouldn't. At the same time, the teacher education in Finland is very inquiry-oriented and, so to say, research-based, that all of the teachers would be or could be working as researchers as well. So all of the courses in the teacher education program, every single one of them, include research somehow, and it's research-based information. So we would have the inquiry-oriented teachers develop that way. Personal practical theory put together with research, I can justify my choices in practice. So you would have the critical thinking skills, and what this means is if the child is not learning, who is responsible? Well, the teacher is, because the teacher has the highest qualification, has the pedagogical tools, and they need to be able to justify their own choices that they make in the classroom. And this means that I, as a teacher, when I was working as a primary teacher, I did sometimes my own assessments or my own tools to assess the children in, let's say, language competencies or so, because I had to know which way I would go with my pedagogy. The teacher education in Finland is very difficult to come into. So this would, I told you already that teachers are highly respected by the society. This is from 2015 from the University of Helsinki admissions. The situation is not that bad at the moment. However, it's still very competitive field. And to class teacher education program in 2015, the University of Helsinki took in 7% of the applicants. Preschool teacher education program, 12% of the practical of the students, and special education teacher program, 5%, and to medicine in the same university, it's 8%. You get my point? We are able to get the best of the best, not best of the rest. So, as long as we have the situation in Finland like this, I am happy. However, we do not have, the percentages are not that high anymore. In Sweden, I've been working in Sweden as well, and we have a joke there, or we had a joke with my colleagues, that if you are not criminal, and if you can open the door, you're welcome to early childhood education program. So, quality, quality, quality. So the work of teachers is very independent, and the trust in teacher is very high. But also, the trust is high, it means that the teachers have a huge responsibility, and we call it trust-based responsibility. I'm going to jump into how does the future look like in education, and how I see the education. We are all battling with the discrepancy, especially those ones who are educating teachers for the future. How does the future look like? I don't know. You know, we might see COVID, or we might see whatever, but what are those core elements we need to teach our students, future teachers, so that they will be ready to teach with that education for decades onwards. And this is a challenge. So, what do we need to be successful in the future as societies? I think we need to secure the equality and equity of societies. Easier said than done. I understand that. Secure financial resources for education. This is very important for our policymakers to understand that when we put money into early childhood education, it will bring back money. Develop teacher education ongoingly, highlight smart policies that support children and families. We need as well pedagogical solutions that help individuals and communities to learn, and we need to change the learning culture of schools and societies. We cannot sort of continue feeding information in blocks. The information needs to be connected. And we need to look how we teach today. So we need to think about, how many of you were playing with the artificial intelligent robot during the Christmas holidays? I was at least. And what struck me again was that what the artificial intelligent robot they do not have is critical thinking skills, connection to the context. For instance, that's why before I came here, I tried to learn as much as possible of the Portuguese education system, because otherwise I would be talking to you completely like, oh, you know, it wouldn't fit in. And creativity is lacking. So these are skills that the artificial intelligence cannot do tomorrow, and these are something that our students and our children need tomorrow. So I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to say to you that the way young people live and learn have changed, and the education needs to change too, and as well in the universities. So thank you very much, and I would like to open up for any questions you might have.
So much for this great presentation. So many subjects. Tanta coisa, tantos assuntos, tantos temas, não é? Que se ligam todos uns aos outros e que nos deixam cheios de vontade aqui de aproveitar. Sit down, because you must be really tired after 1 hour sharing and choosing. And so we do have 10 minutes, 15 minutes. No problem. What's stroking?
I really have to go afterwards, so I'm sorry in advance for leaving. While we were talking, I couldn't help but a question. If you've ever done any work, I'm not sure you did, or at least had conversations about it, about how could you talk about some of the special things that, all different things that Finland does in education and how it has great results. And we look at each other and think, yeah, but this would never work in the society and in the students that we have right now. So my question is, have you done some work, or have you had specialists, and if so, maybe share a little bit about it, about how could we start to apply all these policies and all these, I would say, frameworks into cultures that have been so differently established for so many years. Just for instance, our teachers' mindset, I believe, is very different. The way society looks at teachers is also very different. You made a really strong point about how teachers are very much valued and how important that is. So, how do you think we could start, and Finland and the northern countries are seen as big examples. How do you think we could start bringing those frameworks to countries that are so different, and how could we make sure that these big policy changes would work?
I always say, I've talked about as well when I connected to the pedagogy, that it is connected with the history, with the values, and our philosophies and how we see at things. And this is the same thing with any type of, it's impossible. Of course, we can see that Finland has imported some school to Saudi Arabia, or somebody pays and somebody takes a school in there. It's very difficult to take it because it's connected to the Finnish society's values and attitudes. And on the highest level, everything starts with smart policies. What you need to have smart policymakers that listen to the researchers and work together with the researchers in order to create a Portuguese framework that works. And so I think everything starts with the policies, and as well the teacher education. But the freedom that we have in our teacher education programs is, we have in teacher education programs have the trust-based responsibility.
There is no obliged curriculum. Não há currículo obrigatório para a formação dos professores. Há uma confiança de base e olhar.
Yeah, so now when I'm building,
o que é necessário.
Yeah, so now when I'm building, for instance, new curriculum for my teacher education program, we start with tabula rasa, and then we start thinking about, and the different teacher education programs have a little bit different type of profiles, for instance. So I don't have the answer.
Yeah, Portuguese people have the answer. It's such a complex matter.
It is. This is working or not?
And you also spoke about the importance of research, and you underlined it very much.
Yes.
That discussion that is based upon what we know works better, and how can we bring that in and treasure it, and not just an intention. It's an intention built upon the best research. And how is that research brought to people? During teacher training, for instance, is it the university teachers that bring it, that discuss it? Is it
to the students?
To the students.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. So we have a lot of different type of approaches. Again, I mean, I have a complete 100% trust in my trust-based responsibility with my teachers, university teachers, when they teach, and their decisions, because they know best their students and what the students need. And of course, they have the guidelines in the curriculum. So if they want to have, if they want to go outside and talk with the students, or whatever the wildest ideas that they have, I would be like, okay, well, I am with most of the wildest idea. And this is an important thing as well, I think, the autonomy of teachers on the university level, in early childhood education, everywhere, because it recreates the education system, and it sort of keeps the education system developing with innovations. And if you put strains on people and their innovative thinking, they start working as robots.
Because you spoke of combining theories of learning with theories of play.
Yes.
In the playful learning.
Yes.
Playful learning. Yeah. I think this could be something very interesting for us, because we are, I think, through play and through very early ages, we can start to transform children, but also ourselves, because if we observe them carefully, they will give what to us. But then you spoke about this combination, and it seems you were saying perhaps it's the first time that it's done. So you do have a lot of freedom, but at the same time a lot of thought about what works, how does it work, and discussions about it.
Yeah. And the idea that because you are considered as the adult of the room, with the children, so with the highest degree, so you should be able to also, know why you're doing the things you are doing, and you look yourself in the mirror if something is not working, and change the way you work, and so on.
Let's hear you more. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So if you want to come.
This is a small detail, but we were talking about the autonomy of some schools. I think I would notice the parallel that can be drawn with the young boy who scores by position teachers here in Portugal. And so I wanted to ask you, how does the hiring of teachers and professionals goes on about in Finland? So is it the actual school that publishes some sort of note that says, welcoming anyone that's allowed to exercise his profession, or is it the Ministry of Education that organises with these hirings?
Principal is in charge of the school, and principal is also in charge of the pedagogy that happens inside the school. And principal as well hires, because the principal knows what type of pedagogical competence he or she needs within the team.
This is a very hot discussion at the moment.
Yes, and this has to do with the decentralization of the system. So as a principal, you would be like the king, of your kingdom. However, you would have, like, let's say 20 teachers, 20 CEOs, having different type of opinions and different type. Everybody would have full autonomy in developing their own education.
And there is competition between schools, different schools, or
No collaboration. We're like the Nokia phones, connecting people.
because I know some realities that there are lots of competition so that children can come to my school and not for parents want children in that school and not in that school.
No, of course there is these type of discussions between the parents, and of course there are better schools and not so good schools in Finland. However, the difference between the good school and the bad school is very sort of the they're very close to one another. So in Finland we have one of the smallest differences between the schools or in educational outcome, between the children. So no. Yeah.
You said 40,000 people participated when the national curriculum for...
I hope that was the correct, but it was a lot.
A lot. So there is also a lot of participation in terms of parents, in terms of professionals.
Yeah, we actually...
Here in Portugal once.
Yeah, and
we did too.
Hundreds.
Hundreds.
Yeah. So in the
5 million in Finland, 10 million in Portugal, 40,000, hundreds.
Yeah.
So there is a difference in terms of participation.
And in early childhood education, there is actually 2.5 out of the 64 pages, or 63. 2.5 pages are devoted to parental collaboration and how the early childhood education is in charge of organizing the collaboration, because the collaboration never happens if, let's keep in touch.
You said, thank you very much for this great presentation. You talked about, so for the future, and so we can actually deal with artificial intelligence, because we know it's, where is it coming from, more or less. And there are a lot of jobs in the future which will, there's this idea, which I don't think is quite true, but that, a lot of people will be without jobs because then artificial intelligence will come. But you said something very interesting. You said that what artificial intelligence, well, you said many things that were interesting. You said that, critical thinking, connection to the context, and creativity are 3 dimensions, which artificial intelligence cannot yet, and I don't think it will actually overcome. When we think about play is very much, well, it can be very much this as well. So,
that's a very good connection, by the way.
So what I'm sort of wondering here, and I share what was said by the person who was left here and my colleague, but we have this idea that in southern countries we are lagging behind in education, which we are when we compare ourselves with countries where education is. You saw it in your charts. Teachers are as important as doctors. So that's basically a key message of one of your slides. So what I'm thinking is, here in Portugal, for instance, we've been having in the last 10 years, maybe, there's a strong movement that it's growing on the importance of play and being outdoors. And so at universities, there's this, big sort of teachers are beginning, and some do actually bring that into the curriculum. But then we have a problem here, because when students finish their degrees, and I think you must know this phenomenon, they go back where they are positioned in a place to teach or to learn, create the conditions for the child to learn. They go back to the way that they were taught, not at universities or time, which in some cases it's not very good, but to the way that they were actually learning when they were in primary school. And I think that's a phenomenon in the educational side. And then after a few years, they gain the confidence and they start to experiment. So after this huge comment of mine, one of the problems that I see here is that teachers, they stop training when they finish university, you see. So in Finland, objective question, I guess teachers there, they are so curious about education, about playing.
They are entitled to get education afterwards as well.
Because here they are also entitled, but the thing is, we just see people sort of sitting in their very comfortable areas of knowledge and doing things not like they learned, but the way their institution where they will work. And by the way, we have, you must know by now, a huge diversity of early childhood education institutions, because you have municipalities that give you a school. It's a bit like in Canada, the child goes to school to the nearest place where you live. So here in Portugal, so the first question was about training, and the other question is a big one. Do you, for me it's a big one. Do you think that education changes culture? Because it seems to me that in Finland one comes with the other. And so
education is always connected with the culture, so I don't know which was first the egg or the hen.
Yeah, because
type of a thing.
Because what I think is, if this is the status, then here in Portugal, maybe we are always going to be like this. Do you see where I'm heading? Because
I can see where you're going, and I understand the complexity, or I think I understand the complexity of your pergunta. There isn't no answer. It's up to the people who have the power to change the working culture. But we have, for instance, mentors in schools, and they're usually those teachers that are the best, considered as the best ones in the school and most innovative. So when a new teacher comes, they take them under their wings and show, and because we know these. It takes a long time to change the working culture of it's like of a company. I think it's like 6 years or something like that. So it's a long, in a long run. So there is nothing we can do like that, but in a long run, it's possible to do. When it comes to teacher training, I mean, it's extremely important that our teachers are highlighted already throughout their entire education, that lifelong learning is a part of this profession. They need to understand that, and you're never ready. And because research is renewing itself, our understanding is renewing, you need to do that one as well. Because you need to understand as a teacher, you are making the future of this country.
Thank you. I will have more questions, but
does anyone have more questions?
Thoughts? Because we're already past a little bit of time.
But isn't it the Portuguese way?
Yes. Thank you for understanding our culture.
Yeah. I've had the best teachers.
I think thinking that in ISPA, the School of Education is very new, although education has been in ISPA forever. It's a part of the thought of the reflection. I think that what you brought to us and to all of us here are really very interesting topics, as Federico was saying, to never stop asking ourselves what we can do. So we'll be together tomorrow as teachers. We have teachers that are working in our institutions that work with us very closely to help supporting our students to be good teachers. So hopefully we can talk more about this. And your QR code, I think we will, use it and reuse it and bring the discussion again.
And I'm coming back here in August, and it would be lovely if some of you would be interested in showing your early childhood education facilities, or, I'm interested in learning more about the Portuguese way of delivering education on different levels. So I'm very happy to have emails from you or questions or whatever. So, hope to meet you in August as well.
Hope we can make that happen. Okay, because August is a holiday month for us, but we have a very ECEC conference, and then we have Heidi with us so that we can share more thoughts. So thank you very much. Muito obrigada a todos pela presença, pela participação, que veio pelo olhar, que veio pelas expressões, que veio pelas questões e que, sobretudo, que fica connosco. Isso é que precisamos, de permanecer, não é? Eugênio de Andrade dizia sobre a urgência, não é, de permanecer, e falámos do seu centenário, do seu nascimento há poucos dias, e precisamos desta urgência de pensar, de parar, e de facto tivemos aqui um excelente, e uma salva grande de palmas para esta excelente